YouTube, how's it going, YouTube? Yeah, this is something I've been wanting to find a way to try to do more of is go live straight from the YouTube channel. However, there's not a feature that I can bring Harrison in on, which brings me to the reason why I'm doing. Harrison messed up his phone. We used our phones to do the show cross country virtually, and so I'm going solo this week. The show must go on, as they say. We're 88 episodes deep. This is episode 88 of the Beefy Boy breakdown, I guess, this week. And yeah, talking Blachowicz versus Rakic. We're gonna start off with the prelims. I feel like we're one of the only podcasts out there that dive deep into like the prelims and the non-big name fights. Maybe some people view that as a detriment, but I know I'm the type of guy who would like to enjoy like watching people because I don't know if you're a guy that watches the prelims. I feel like you're the type of guy that would want to listen to discussion about what you saw in those prelims. So I feel like the market's out there. I know I would enjoy it, and so hopefully you are too. But yeah, on the Beefy Boys breakdown, so I feel like we're one of the only shows that dive deep into the prelims. Because the prelims is where you find tomorrow's stars, right? Like all of your favorite guys started off on the prelims, and what's the point of missing their fights? And it's like a whole part of the fighter's journey of making it from the prelims, jerking the curtain, as Uncle Chael says, to making your way to the main card, to the co-main, to the main event. It's important to watch that. I mean, I feel like that's part of the fun of the process, watching the journey of these guys and ladies too, for that matter. And but yeah, starting with the prelims. Speaking of future stars, I say this reluctantly. Yeah, Andre Petrosky coming in at plus 280 against Nick Maximov, and Maximov, for better or for worse, is pretty much known for being a guy that trains with the Diaz brothers. So that gives him a little hype. He's also undefeated. So, Jesus, give the guy his own credit. I feel you. Coming in at minus 365. So, Vegas was definitely giving him all the credit in the world. Petrosky, Ultimate Fighter guy from, I guess, now last season since the new season started. It's starting off good. I don't know if y'all are watching it out there. You got Nunez versus Pena, pretty hot fire. But, yeah, man. So Petrosky coming off last season, he didn't win, but he was like I want to say he was the alternate to the finale and lost in the finale, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, guy coming out of the Ultimate Fighter, one of the top guys. I think he's on a 2-fight win streak, if I'm not mistaken. And he makes quick work of Maximov. Gets the first round. Fight only lasted a minute 16 seconds. Anaconda choke on Maximov, and man, it's a fine line because whenever these guys are getting these submissions, you always hear the coach, "Don't panic, don't panic," and Maximov definitely didn't panic, but it's almost like he no should have panicked more. He just like took it too chill, and the next thing you know, he was out. Like he didn't fight it off. It didn't seem like all that much. I mean, as you see, a minute and 16 seconds, it was pretty quick. And so, yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Maximov, also known as a wrestler, and the Diaz brothers big on Gracie BJJ. So it's not like he's never trained that position before. Now Petrosky is what did seem like a much stronger guy. I don't think Maximov cuts a lot of weight. I think Petrosky probably cuts a decent amount. But hey, I mean, if you're going to be fighting in a division, I mean, you can't just use that excuse every time. No, he was 8-0 before this Maximov, so I mean, it's not like he has to go back to the drawing board. Maybe he had an off night. Maybe this Petrosky guy goes on to be, a real somebody. It's our only time will tell, right? But I mean, cool way to start the night. Man, these prelims, just I don't know, it's kind of an eye test or just a gut test type of thing. I just really, really enjoyed them. I'm not going to say we haven't had better prelims, like I don't know, use whatever criteria you want to judge how much you like a prelim card. But what I'm getting at is here, I can't think of a prelim card that I enjoyed more, like had more fun watching. Now, was that a me thing? Was I just having a good day? But I'm just saying, I I really just had a phenomenal time watching these prelims fights. And I mean, for the most part, I knew all the people fighting. Which is cool discovering new people. But I mean, think about all these names on these prelims. The only people I didn't know was this next fight, Tatsuro Taira, Carlos versus Carlos Candelario. And let me tell you, I know their names now. Yeah, I believe it was Tyra making his debut, if I'm not mistaken, fighting the men's flyweight division. Tyra only 22 years old, undefeated, 10-0. So we got multiple undefeated prospects to start the card off with. And then he's coming in as a minus 310 favorite. So these guys, getting these big money lines early on in their career. And he's fighting Carlos Candelario. I don't know too much about Carlos. I'm going to keep it honest with y'all, but this Tatsuro Taira kid coming in with plenty of hype, kind of like they were talking about how he kind of got to skip the line as far as like they were thinking about, putting him on the contender series, but they believed in his, talent so much they just gave him a straight up contract, which you got to believe is probably a better contract, right? If you had a little leverage, if you probably getting paid a little bit more than the contender series guys. So good on him. Hopefully, kind of just made that up, but it would seem to make sense. But yeah, man, this fight was pretty much all Tyra. You don't have to go too far into the weeds of the scorecards. I did give round three a 10-8. I believe one judge agreed with me. Well, I don't have the scorecards in front of me, but one judge gave it a round a 10-8. I assume it was round three. That's what I saw. I mean, in the classic question, like, was this round eligible for stoppage? It was. I believe it was Herb Dean, if I'm not mistaken, and whoever the ref was taking a nice close look, plenty of times. Got pretty close to, all the credit in the world to Candelario for toughing it out and not getting finished and having a chin and having the heart and all that good stuff. But I mean, that fight was essentially eligible for stoppage. I think it's a kind of now only one judge gave it a 10-8. I gave it a 10-8. Tyra did a really good job of being all the way in or all the way out because he has good striking and he has good grappling, but I guess he didn't want to get caught in kind of that no man's land or maybe play to kind of Candelario style. So he made, they call it managing the distance. I thought he was either all the way in, all the way out, being effective both, being aggressive both. Like when some people they go in and out, but when they're out, they're not doing nothing. No, he was kicking from the outside. Good movement. I don't know. I liked what he was doing inside and outside. Kind of showed pretty well-rounded game for such a young guy. Um, and then, but man, and then he would do. Tyra needs to. He one hole I saw is like he would. Tyra would pretty much win 4.5 minutes, the first 4.5 minutes of the round, and then he would essentially lose the last, minute or 30 seconds. Which, thank God, it didn't screw him over. Saturday night, but it could in the future, right? We've seen people steal rounds that way. It's kind of cheap. Nobody really likes it, but it happens for sure. So I think that's something he's got to watch out for. But obviously, exciting prospect. He extends his win streak to 11. So 11-0 for Tatsuro Taira. Now, obviously that competition level is going to increase. And when a guy's that young, I don't even necessarily care about him remaining undefeated. Now, if a guy comes in, he's 28, 29 years old, he's later on in his career, he's more developed, and he's undefeated. Like, yeah, that's it means something. Kind of like a Justin Gagey. He's had some titles and some other organizations like that kind of story. Young Justin Gagey, of course, I'm referring to. But when a guy's 22 years old, it's like I'm not necessarily like hanging my whole hat on that. Oh, like he needs to season up a little bit. Maybe that seasoning requires taking an L from the older vet, or maybe he's the real gut deal, and he goes on and he keeps the run alive. But I'm excited for him, especially in the flyweight division. That division needs life. It needs exciting. It needs marketable. I think Tatsuro Taira, checks all those boxes. I think he made an attempt to like speak English. He had like a pre-prepared English statement like written down, which making an effort to reach out to the American Western fan base, which is just smart for his career. It kind of just gives me hope that he'll make like good decisions as far as like steering his career, or at least the people that are steering his career. That seems like they're pointing him in the right direction, which you love to see. And keeping it pushing here, man. I, I said I love that. I love the card. I loved almost everything about it. The card placement, both on the main card and on the prelims, was a little weird to me. I guess I'm splitting hairs there. I enjoyed it nonetheless, but like I thought there was like two fights on these prelims that could have been on the main card for sure, and then if we would have swapped them out, I don't think. I mean, it would have made all the sense in the world. We had a bunch of ranked fighters fighting on the prelims, former main eventers, and Yeah, and then on the main card, we got guys that are I don't think anybody really expects too much from. So it was a little interesting to me as far as card placement goes. My partner Harrison, that usually does the show with me, he he's the king of the card placement kind of debate, and he gets frustrated with it probably even more than I do. So I know if he was here, he'd be saying the same thing. But that being said, also, I'm an Angela Hill fan. My wife's an Angela Hill fan. I know. She hasn't looked great lately. I'll argue to you that she didn't look too bad on Saturday night. She did some things well. I thought she fought good. But yeah, so maybe I'm coming in with a little bit of bias, wearing my overkill colored sunglasses. But we got Angela Hill plus 175, 13th ranked strawweight. Like I said, former main eventer, has main evented before. Fighting Verna Jandiroba, coming in at minus 210, 12th ranked strawweight. And I said plenty of nice things about Hill. I can't necessarily argue with that money line. Like Hill hasn't given even somebody like me who's a supporter of hers like a whole lot to really, hang our hats on, dauber up on in our past couple fights. So you got to wonder, she's doing the podcasting and the ESPN, the journalist work, or whatever you call it, analyst, probably more so than journalist. But you got to wonder if she's, you call it burning both ends of the candle, or just, got too many things going on. I know it's smart to set up your post fight career, but while you're still fighting, it's kind of hard to have a foot in both, kind of straddle the fence. Maybe that's what's happening here. I mean, what goes up must come down. She's not the first fighter to, potentially end her career on an L streak, but it's tough. But yeah, I can't disagree with the money line taking place at women's strawweight. Like I said, round one, I gave it to Jandy Roba. Jandy Roba won all 3 rounds, but I gotta say, round one, Angie ended the round strong with a takedown and a submission attempt. Like, it wasn't enough to steal the round, but showed some signs of life and did some things well, and showed that she wasn't quitting or packing it in. Like, there's still some dog left in that. Um, Now, Jandy Roba's, jiu-jitsu was just a little bit better. She was attacking knee bars in the first round. And then what I was a little disappointed in, right? Jandy Roba's supposed to have the better jiu-jitsu, but when they were in the clinch, Angie's known as a Muay Thai fighter, and Jandy Roba was being way more active with knees to the body. Like just way like even I think the broadcast was saying, "Oh, Angie's good in the clinch. She's gonna let off some knees to the body." And like as they were saying that, Jandy Roba was just firing off knees to the body. So yeah, that was a little disappointing to me. Just that, like, in a position where Angie's supposed to be at her best, she lost. If she would have just lost the grappling, I'd be sitting here probably trying to make some lawyer defense of it. But that was a little disappointing. Now, round two, I thought was the closest, hardest round to score of the fight. Um, you know what? I gave it to Angela Hill. I don't no judge did, so once again, that's probably my bias shining through a little bit. I'm just being honest there. But I gotta say, I'm not just talking out my ass here. The rationale is that Angie landed some clean punches in round two. Angie landed the punches that Angie was able to land in round two might have been the hardest punches landed by either woman in the entire fight. Maybe that's a little hyperbole. I said maybe I'm viewing it through Angie colored glasses. Call me out in the comments if you want. But that's what I saw. I saw what Angie landing the hardest fight shots of the round and potentially the hardest shots of the fight in that round. And Jenny Roba got an armbar attempt that Angie defended perfectly. There were some scrambles and some positions that Jenny Roba won for sure. But I thought Angie did the most damage in the round. And they said maybe that's some bias shining through. It's weird that no judge agreed with me. They said, I mean, there was only so many clean shots landed in this entire fight from a striking perspective, and it was happened from Angie in that round. So yeah, that's how I saw round two. It's okay. I know I'm probably out here on an island on that one. You see, this is where I miss my dog Harrison, because I would love to hear how he scored that. Then round three, Jandy Roba just really rode it out, kind of coasted out in top control. Not a ton of damage, kind of a snoozy third round. Hill reverses it at the very end, just like I said, kind of shows signs of life. Didn't go out sad, as the kids say. Um, she got 30-27, and then Jenny Roba comes with the mediocre call out of a number. I can't stand when fighters call out a number. Like, just do the Google search so I don't have to. Like, oh, I want anybody in the top 10. You know what? How about you Google who's ranked 8, who's ranked 9, and just say their name. Don't make me the fan. You know what I'm saying? Go to Tapology. Who's the ninth ranked strawweight? Like, that's just lame. I mean, I know Jandy Roba, isn't the most marketable fighter and known for her call outs, or she's no Michael Chandler out there. But Jesus, and that goes for any fighter. When you call out a number, just do the Google so I don't have to. You know what I mean? And we'll keep it pushing. Because this next fight, um, interesting one. Another guy that could have been on the main card. Now, not because of his ranking, because of his name value, because of nostalgia, because of, I guess, service time put into the company, seniority. But this goes for both guys, honestly. Michael Johnson versus Alan Patrick. Both guys been fought plenty of times in the UFC. Veteran guys, latter stages of their career. But Michael Johnson, ton of career highlights, some great wins over some big names, a lot of losses, a lot of losses, but the losses are to absolute killers. So it's always tough how you judge that. Like, would you rather a guy, have just so many wins over cans, or would you rather, have a guy have just a salty ass record but fought the best in the world? I mean, it's kind of a philosophical question. I guess like most things, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. But yeah, we got Michael Johnson. Now, Vegas had him favored minus 150. That power, as they say, it's one of the last things to go. Made lightweight, which is impressive, as a guy that hasn't been super active, a guy getting older, a guy's had an up and down career making lightweight, that's impressive. Fighting Alan Patrick, coming in at plus 130, so not a huge underdog. Um, because he had a path to victory. I think each guy had a kind of a path to victory. I think most people probably thought it was going to be Patrick by either sub or decision. If you're betting Johnson, I imagine you just added the extra juice of not going the distance. If you thought Johnson was going to win, you got to think against an older guy, probably going to come by way of knockout. From a betting perspective, that's kind of how you got to look at it. Now, a lot of guys out of Charles Oliveira's gym on this car, they all had their hair dyed blonde. It's pretty cool. That can be simple. Some people might view that as corny or, oh, that's little league shit. But hey, anything you can do to like have something in common with somebody, especially when for lack of better terms, about to go to war with them, finding common ground, even if it's something as goofy or silly as a hair color or a hairstyle or a bracelet you guys all wear. Seriously, like little shit like that can build camaraderie, build an energy, get everybody tugging on the rope in the same direction. And I'm not saying it's just the whole reason, but I think most of the people from that team did well last night. And, it's just culture, gym culture, team culture. I've never been part of an MMA gym, but I've been part of football teams that had good coaches and football teams that had bad coaches. And it's night and day. It's night and day. Um, anyway, back full circle here. We got Michael Johnson versus Alan Patrick. And this fight was a banger, as you might expect. These guys are known for putting on exciting fights, and that's what we got. Like, each guy was just like wobbling each other. Like, they were just drilling the fuck out of each other, just going to war, like just Gagey Chandler style. Hamzat Burns style, just throwing power shots, landing power shots. I mean, like Patrick got dropped essentially like 3 times in the first round, but Patrick, you could argue when Patrick hurt Johnson, he had Johnson hurt worse and closer to finishing him than Johnson had Patrick hurt in any of those 3 instances. So I guess that's kind of a philosophical debate too. Like, what do you prefer, the 3, hurt, wobble? I don't know if they were all knockdowns, but I mean, if you hurt him bad, versus the one where you like legit like were a nut hair away from being finished. I leaned Michael Johnson. Like, you hurt a guy 3 times. versus you get kind of, I guess you could say, caught once if you're looking at it real positively. I lean Johnson, but like I said, I just laid out the argument if you wanted to give that round to Patrick. But I mean, this round doesn't go to the scorecards. Might have foreshadowed that a little bit, but I mean, Michael Johnson gets the KO 3 minutes and 22 seconds in to the second round. I mean, it was gorgeous. It was like a four-piece, but like the first three really set up the last one, which was a left hook, and I mean, it was just textbook. And then the finishing shots were absolutely brutal and unnecessary. Reminds you of Ngannou Stipe, but hey, he fought till the whistle. Not saying they were cheap, dirty, not that kind of unnecessary, but just like Patrick was out cold, stiffened up, and then Johnson comes with the two more hammers. But hey, that's the sport, right? Fight till the final whistle. Beautiful performance from Johnson. I mean, he said he did almost get beat, but I mean, he did a lot of good work. I mean, you know, as a guy who used to fight the top of the division, essentially going to war with Alan Patrick, I mean, I think he's, where we think he's at in his career. I don't think he's any longer a top 10 guy, you know. Now, could he beat somebody in the top 10 on any given night? Yeah, probably because of that power, but in this style. But you see what I'm saying here? Just consistently, how much does he have left in the tank? I don't know. I don't think anybody's projecting like one last run for MJ, but a great performance. He he spoke not quite in those terms, but he said like, "Yeah, I got to take it one step at a time. Like I can't get ahead of myself here. Like I got to just get back in the gym and get another fight booked." And he seems to like be kind of grounded and coming at it from a good perspective, which is cool. Something you don't always see from guys in Michael Johnson's position. So yeah, I mean, and as far as Alan Patrick goes, he's getting older. How many more does he have left? Who knows? But I mean, he fought decent. He got finished bad at his age. That's never a great thing. So, we'll see what happens next there. And then keeping it pushing to the women's flyweight division, we got Viviane Araujo, number eighth ranked flyweight in the world, coming in at plus 100 against Andrea Lee, ninth ranked flyweight in the world at minus 120. And this was another banger. This is another fight that I thought could have been on the main card, to be honest. Now, mainly because of rankings, but also like I don't know, man. I mean, I think Andrea Lee is kind of like starting to like climb in people's perspective, and as far as the flyweights, and then I mean, like I said, 8 versus 9, top 10 matchup, flyweight division. UFC's trying to give that division juice. How do you say that? My evidence is that they have women's flyweight as part of this season's Ultimate Fighter. So give these ladies a spotlight. I thought, now, this fight is where all the controversy comes from the corner work of Andrea Lee, and see, this is I guess I'll give my take on it. He said like those dirty Brazilians are trying to cheat because she got poked in the eye. Andrea Lee's boyfriend, the name's eluding. He's a UFC fighter too. I know he fights Yana soon, I believe. Um, and white guy, and he says like these dirty Brazilians, like, and everybody's saying how racist it is. Like, I mean, maybe you can say I'm lawyer balling this, but Brazil isn't a race. Like, that's like a nationality, and I view it as. So I grew up in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma, the states of Oklahoma and Texas have like a rivalry, and you'll say it like, oh man, like oh, don't be like the people from Texas. Whether you're talking about the driving or making jokes about sports and I'm not saying this was coming from a place of joke or like, you know what I'm saying? Like if we had a rival, like you ever played a sport and you're playing your rival team, and you'd be like, oh, those cheating cocksuckers over there. Like it doesn't necessarily mean you think like everyone in that city is a cheating cocksucker, but that's your rival town, and you're competing against them and you talking some shit. That's how I saw it, man. As far as calling him racist and all that, and I don't know the guy's history, and maybe he is racist, but I'm just saying, like, that in a vacuum, I don't believe to be racist. I just want to say that. I think it's kind of just like a lazy take to say that that's like racist. I mean, now if he's just hanging out in his own free time talking about how shitty the people of Brazil are, all right, no, maybe that's a different conversation. But in the heat of battle, they actually did kind of cheat. There wasn't an eye poke, the United States versus Brazil in the sport of MMA has been like the biggest rivalry, going back to Chael, going back to this long, 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 long history of Brazil versus USA. So it was like kind of like the rivalry situation I was talking about. I didn't find it to be racist. He didn't say any, slurs. He didn't, comment on their ethnicity. He commented on their nationality, which, I mean, I guess gets a little blurry, but not really if you're educated. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, but back to the fight. Vivian Araujo, Andrea Lee, flyweight. Round one was an absolute banger. I mean, it was really, really fun to watch. They each dropped each other in the round. So it's kind of right when you're scoring it, each girl knocks the other one down, hurts the other one, kind of nullifies. So what else takes place in the round? And I think in the what else takes place, Arujo did more work. And she got two takedowns, which I thought most people would have given Andrea Lee the wrestling advantage going into the fight. Maybe not. I think in my head I kind of was leaning that way. And she was able just to control her and advance position, so it wasn't just boring laying on her. She was actually putting in some quality work on the ground. So I gave it 10-9 Arujo. Now round two, I gave 10-8 Arujo. Um, in an Aljamain Sterling kind of way. Like she had her back like the entire round, but was putting in some pretty active ground and pound, unlike Aljamain Sterling, and won every scramble. And the interesting part about that, it ends up being a 10-8, at least on my scorecard. I don't believe any judge agreed with me. So once again, I've had some squirrely judging, but hey, that's how I saw it. She had the back the entire round pretty much with ground and pound, so she wasn't just holding it. Now she got her back because Andrea Lee did a terrible takedown attempt and whiffed badly and like slipped. And then that's how Arujo was able to get the back. So maybe that's why nobody gave it a 10-8 because it wasn't like Arujo like took her down and dominated, then transitioned to the back. Like she kind of like fell into it, I guess. So I guess if you want to hold that against her, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I don't believe any judge gave it a 10-8. Feel free to leave it in a comment if you gave it a 10-8. I'm dying to hear what Harrison has to say about it. And then once again, round three, 10-9 Arujo, just takedown control, much less damage. It was the third round. They'd just gone to war. Hard to hold it against her. But at the very end of round three, Andrea Lee actually did get the reversal and landed some pretty decent ground and pound, kind of went down swinging, but not enough to steal the round, not enough to win the fight. Kind of, I guess, if you want to salvage a little pride, whatever, get your licks in. But I scored at 30-26. No judge agreed with me. Actually, all right, no, so two judges that's what happened. Two judges did score a 10-8, but they also gave one round to Andrea Lee, which I'm assuming was round one. So two judges scored at 29-27. One judge scored at 29-28. I scored at 30-26. A lot of ways you can interpret that fight. Feel free to leave it a comment saying how you scored it. And that wraps up the prelims. Really fun prelims. Like I said, I thought there were multiple main card worthy fights on these prelims. Like I said, due to names, due to history, due to rankings. But there's multiple fights on these prelims that I thought could have been a main card. And then even the ones that weren't necessarily of that caliber still have super interesting prospects and guys that we're high on moving forward. So, I thought these prelims knocked it out of the park, man. Seriously. I mean, especially for a fight night prelims. I mean, I don't know what more you would want from it. And like, just another example why I love watching prelims. The Beefy Boys will always cover the prelims. And if you're a UFC fan and you're not watching prelims, you're missing out. I know it's a lot of time. I know it is. But even go back and watch them after the fact, even because great fights, great performances, relevant fights, like meaningful within the division and meaningful for the future of the sport. So, yeah, that's the episode 88 of the Beefy Boys Breakdown. Feel free to hit subscribe, leave a comment, like some of our other videos. That would really help us out. You can follow us on Twitter at Beefy Breakdown. We had a lot of fun tweeting during the fights, so you can always look for us on Fight Nights tweeting at Beefy Boys Breakdown. You can follow me on Instagram at Dreadful Talk Dom. And we also have a Facebook page if you want to keep up with us that way. Just Beefy Boys Breakdown on Facebook. Thanks for the support. Appreciate everybody that watches this. We'll actually be right back in just a little bit. And we'll go over this main card of Rakic Blachowicz. Can't wait to get to that.